I'm Mike Sharpwriter, and we'll be talking about another Star Trek Online ship talk. And this time we'll be talking about the Cloak. This is Cloak 101 because I've decided this is going to be more of a basics sort of thing. So with TOC being a new character, I'm going to cover something that's unique to most of the ships that I'll be flying with TOC, the Cloak. There's actually several variants of the cloaking device in Star Trek Online. Most of this presentation will be covering the non-lore aspect of the Cloak, so don't worry about some other stuff. So, why don't Federation ships such as the Scarlet flies, have a Cloak? Prior to the Hubris incident, or the Roman supernova, the Treaty of Algeron prevented the development and the use of cloaking devices by the Federation. Before anyone complains, DS9's use as defined own cloaking device was actually on loan from the Romulan Star Empire at the time. This treaty was more or less voided when the Roman Star Empire collapsed. This has let Starfleet develop their own cloaking devices in a few cases. So, at the moment, in game, only a select few Starfleet ships now have cloaks, and none of the NPC versions of these ships have cloaks, as far as I can tell. Some quick basics. For the most part, the Cloak is an integral part of the ship. There are consoles in some cases, but they are few and far between. The ship itself will determine what type of cloak you will have. Again, this is part. And there are basically three common types of cloak, each with Roman variant. There's the cloak, the battle cloak, and the enhanced battle cloak. The standard cloak, it drops 5 shield power per second, basically drains your shields. It gives itself a 50 defense rating, and after 3 seconds it provides a stealth boost, and you are basically invincible for the most part. After decloaking, you gain about 15% bonus damage for about 5 seconds, and you must be cloaked. The only way to cloak you is outside of red alert, or outside of battle. At the moment in time, you've only seen TOC carrying one of these cloaks. Moving on to the battle cloak, this is the more common one for Romulan ships and Klingon birds of prey. You lose 5 current shield power per second. You gain additional free flight speed, which means you move slightly faster under cloak. You gain additional defense rating. After 3 seconds, you'll gain additional flight turn rate. Now this number is about 10 degrees per second, but roughly that compared to what you already had. After 3 seconds, you will pick up a large amount of stealth boost bonus. This will be affected by your stats and your auxiliary power. After decloaking, you gain a 15% bonus damage for 5 seconds. And the best thing you can do with this one is cloaking battle. And now to the enhanced battle cloak, you'll be dropping 15 current shield power per second. That basically means your shields drop down really quick, faster than the previous two. You gain 15% all damage bonus strength, which is pretty decent. Additional flight speed and defense rating. And after decloaking, you gain 15 bonus damage for 5 seconds. Your energy weapons will be offline while you're cloaked, and after 3 seconds you gain you gain 7 flight turn rate and stealth. You can cloak during battle and fire torpedoes under cloak. And I will point out that under all these cloaks can act like the previous, somewhat can be used, or battle, or regardless what type of cloak it is, you can always cloak at any time outside of red alert. Moving on to the Romulan variants. Now, Romulan variants have similar stats, but due to various issues with the singularity, because I can't really go into much details, changes that are not easily visible, nor do I have time to go into details about them. And I'm thinking some of you are wondering, why have I said that 50 mentioned these 5 seconds, not 15 and stuff like that? It's because, and it matches the wiki. The wiki quite often shows a few changes to the ambush timing for Romulan ships, because for a long time, the only way to fly a Romulan ship would be on a Romulan character. The info was most likely obtained on a player who was not tracking their traits on their bridge officers, which boosted the ambush timing. I did actually make note of these tracks while testing on PC during February and March 2021. Game modes also changed over the years, and the most notable one is that any character can now fly any ship if they can obtain access to it. Now, I've talked about Cloak Ambush, so Ambush is a shorthand for the 5 second 15% damage boost after decloak. Both of these can be both the time and the damage can be boosted via traits on mostly bridge officers. And talking about those bridge officers, we'll be moving on to the bridge officer traits, Subterfuge. Now this comes in 3 variants: the basic, normal, and the superior. Now I will point out that the normal variant is only marked as Subterfuge. So we get increased starship stealth, increased defense, and I forgot to put the percentage on that, 375 there. And I will also point out that the starship stealth bonuses and the decloak damage has been noted to be not affected, and in this case you'll be able to pick it up only on Romulan or Reman bridge officers only. You will easily come across a few if you're playing on a Romulan character, and there are a few Romulan bridge officers in the available to pick up in the embassy if you so wish. The Infiltrator. This is the counterpart to the previous one, and this, believe it or not, is actually one you can pick up as a player Romulan, Reman, and it's also a buff trait, so you don't have to be a Reman to take advantage of this. You gain additional defense after decloaking. Your ambush duration increased by 10 seconds. You also gain 200 stealth when cloaked, and it's a Reman exclusive. I should point out that this is one of the few times it's Reman. But the only way you can get it is by being a Romulan captain or Reman captain and and have a Reman bridge officer. The free Reman character does not have this trait, Now, one of the best traits in the game is the Romulan operative, which is both a player space and a buff trait. Now, the people who use this use the critical chance of critical severity as what they're looking at. But you, and like some of the other, like the previous traits, some of the previous traits, this comes in the basic and superior variants. Now, the superior variant is one of the most requested, look for the traits for Romulan bridge officers. So you'll find, and you can actually get additional crit chance, crit severity, which means you quite often hit harder and hit harder more often, and it gives you additional power recharge speed for cloaking, which means you can do damage a lot more quicker when you decloaking, and it's a Romulan exclusive trait, so pretty decent for that. Moving on to Pirate. Now, this is a Klingon, somewhat a Klingon exclusive, Klingon character exclusive, that is. You get, and it's both for a player and buff trait. Now, this increases 1.5% all damage, increased starship shelf, and the effects do not stack with each other. So you only need one pirate to make it work. This is actually an innate trait for any Nautican player or bridge officer. It means that it will come on every Nautican, and comes on the hierarchy bridge officer from one of the Delta Quadrant missions. Moving on to Marquee Tactics. This is the last space trait that I've come going to cover this time. This basically increases your bonus all damage from Cloak Ambush. Since it's a player only one, it does not stack because you can only have one of these active at any one time, and it's the captain ability, and it's a lockbox trait, so it can be expensive. Now, moving on to some additional onto the starship traits, and this one is Assault Formation Theta. When activating attack pattern Omega or decloaking, you gain high yield torpedo 3 and increased starship weapon amplification, which improves critical hit severity for 10 seconds, and of course a bit of flight turn rate for 10 seconds. However, this is exclusive as the Tier 6 trait for the legendary Talis Light Intel Warbird. This you don't need to get this done on every character, but you do need to pick up a very limited and expensive ship to use this one. Next is Concealed Repairs. This, when you cloak or placate an enemy, you pay 33% of your ship's hull over 10 seconds. Recharge your bridge officer abilities over 10 seconds, and it's on a 45 seconds recharge. And it's a lockbox prize. And it's pretty much, and I haven't seen many people use it, and most people who cloak aren't cloaking to mid battle. Warp Shadow Decoy. It's another starship trait. This one creates a warp shadow of your ship for 15 seconds that will taunt nearby NPCs to these warp shadows when you cloak. And you need to on the Hella Light Warbird battlecruiser. This one, in my opinion, is a bit of meh. one, but it's useful if you are very squishy and you have enough time to cloak it before you get destroyed. Personally, when you're flying ships, you need cloaked. I personally don't use it because it's, well, I've got better traits than it. Moving on to Hunter's Instinct. Now this, believe it or not, is one of the newest ones on the block. I mean, I've had to find the image for this one from the store. Believe it or not. Now this, for every after 10 seconds, cloaking will briefly placate foes. This means that they will not look out for you for a little bit. The actual stats are pretty much useless. Weapon attacks during the ambush effect is awarded by leaving cloak reduces foe damage resistance by 10% for 15 seconds. And this is a Klingon recruitment reward. This means that on PC you cannot obtain this anymore, but on console at the time of this writing of this you can. I've not actually done any real testing with this, but this actually does. If you don't have much, you can get this one. Now, moving on to something else. You can come across duty officers that affect your cloak. You get one that increases duty officer increases auxiliary power by 15 while using cloak, master, energy signature, or phase shift, which will in turn improve your ship stealth effectiveness. Well, this also increases your auxiliary power, which increases your stealth, and it's part of various lockbox prizes. I mean, there's not just one lockbox prize; it's about a dozen different lockbox prizes, and there are some ways to obtain this more guaranteed, but I've not looked where exactly it is. Now there is one additional duty officer. This is from the. This allows this affects your singularity charge whilst you're cloaked. Because your singularity basically charge will affect how well your ship weapons and shields and engines are working, and the cloak will basically drain that. It reduces the decay of the singularity charge depending on which type of duty officer you pick up, but by small margin, somewhat of a margin. However, you do need to pick it up from a Telshia command code reward from the Telshia lockbox. There may be other places where it comes from, but that's the best I can do. Now, one big question is, how can you counter these cloaks? Now, almost all ships have a stealth detection rating, which is affected by your actual ship, your gear on that ship, your skill choice, and ox power. There are some skills and consoles that can detect a cloak ship regardless of the above mentioned things. Even the captain choice can matter, as certain captain skills can render a cloak useless. However, MP ships have perfect cloaks and don't show up regardless of the ability to counter cloaks. And I've actually been unintentionally shown this in several of my videos against Romulans and several other characters. And one of the big questions you might be wondering, I've got the line into the DPS groups. So do DPS players use cloaks? Usually not. the DPS boost can be only maxed out with 15 seconds of boost, and almost every DPS run takes more than 30 seconds. Cloaking mid-run removes your weapon's damage for a short period of time, and that's a long time when you're doing a lot of damage, when you're doing a lot of short, when it's even short period of time. But however, cloaking, believe it or not, for travel time is fine, but high DPS players will still be in cloaking in animation when it's actually time for them to actually fire when they're on the other side. They do often use the built-in cloaks to allow them to get into advantageous positions at the start before the first attack on the log. Now these are not random to your foes. These are purely built to get a fast or high DPS run on the logs. And finally, the best DPS ships don't have cloaks to start off with, and well, if they can't cloak, if they don't have the ability to cloak, they can't use it in the first place. And this has been it. This has been Max Out Writer. See you guys next time, and there'll probably be another 2, 3, up to 4 possible chats we've got with these. So see you guys next time.